strange thing, and it may be strange to people maybe who not photographers, but sort of in the darkroom with this, being my first exhibition, I really did live those moments and those stories and meet those characters again. Not all, but I mean, oh, what about this guy? Oh, what, you know, what little tick he had, or, oh, he used to say this funny thing, or so-and-so, oh, and she did that, you know, and remember, and it's like I sort of really felt that I reconnected, not only with that trip and in particular, but also the politics of the time. And I really made a point in the London show of centering on that whole Joe Strummer thing and that influence, and I used a quote from Walls Come Tumbling Down from Style Council, outside, unity is powerful. And Paul Weller came to the show and, you know, and did a pitch outside. And I saw people like him and other activists who maybe, you know, life goes on, people have kids, you know, life gets in the way, right? But, you know, had been involved in a time when everybody was standing up and being counted, and now you might turn around and go, well, so people, you know, people are so apathetic, and it was really nice to see people kind of get a buzz, even out of the fact of, you know, it's not all up here, but there's some elements of some kind of volunteer work that I did, but some construction work that we did in Nicaragua with some money raised from gigs and discos, you know, for the Nicaraguan Solidarity Campaign. And we built like this water filtration system because there was, like, just to explain, I mean, on the mountainsides, the waste of one village would get washed, when the rains came, get washed into the water supply, the next one, and the infant mortality rate was through the roof, you know, and kids weren't surviving beyond 6 months. And so that was just a project that, you know, I heard about whilst I was there, and I went and volunteered on it and photographed it as well. And this idea, I guess, you know, I made a point of in the exhibition of this point, that where people say, well, you know, you contribute a bit of money, or say, oh, it doesn't get to the right people, oh, someone robs it and all the rest of it. And you know, I just pointed out, it's like, see that picture of that little baby there, you know, quite possibly survived, you know, to live a full life and to have children, you know, of its own. And maybe if that contribution hadn't come, maybe it hadn't. So, you know, even if that one life was saved, then that's, you know, a wonderful achievement, right? And so it was almost like putting a little bit of, you know, fire under that again. And it was really good. And it's kind of, it's gone on as well. And it sort of just seems to have like fired people up, you know. And then you know, I was saying to people, bring your kids, you know, just to see, you know, what, I guess what we did, even what little achievements, but just of a different time. But actually, we probably need it just as much now as ever, you know.
Where do you think we are now, you know, in terms of political awareness? And, you know, 'cause you know, to me, sometimes, you know, it feels like it's great to you know, to post a thing up on Facebook or to tweet something, but, you know, that real kind of right at the front activism.
Yeah, I think that is still healthy though, because it's still sort of ideas being kind of exchanged and thrown around, and also I think you get that sense. I mean, through Twitter, I think it's quite amazing actually. You do get this sense that, you know, you can connect with people that maybe are thinking the same as you, but without that sort of platform, you might not have known that. But actually, then you turn around and go, well, you know what? I'm not alone in this way of thinking. And it kind of just like peps you up a little bit. So even like a little simple thing like that actually kind of is encouraging. But, you know, there obviously this argument that we day in, day out, that, you know, all politicians are the same and are they worth voting for? Well, I kind of agree, and I even have to agree, you know, got to that point. But having said that, if you don't vote, you do end up with the worst. You know, you don't, like, for example, in London, we obviously have Boris Johnson. Well, all his mates don't take that approach. They all vote. And so what we've now got is the people that haven't voted cannot moan about what is happening, fire stations being closed down. And I guess for me as well, having seen for for example, South Africa, and seeing how much it meant to that first generation who could vote after years of apartheid, and what that means, and knowing the sacrifices that, you know, have been made for that vote, I guess, you know, I kind of feel that, you know, I do owe it to those to the people who sacrificed to actually use that vote, you know.
You're right.
Because otherwise, what else is there? You have nothing else.
Yeah, exactly.
Unless you are going to, you know, join up and start a revolution, you know. But there's your choices. It's either go that way or give up. You know, so unfortunately, you know, it's sort of bet the devil you know by maybe voting for, you know, something, a party that maybe should be right, maybe a leader that isn't right, but, you know, again, there's always chance of starting points again.
You don't think apathy is a political choice?
Well, yeah, it is, but that's a personal choice, and in a way that just serves, I guess, that divide and rule idea, because, you know, if you're apathetic, then, you know, you don't feel really you've got anything, I guess, in common with your fellow man, you know.
That's what the majority of.
Yeah, and we've been led to think like that, of course, you know, and it's clear to see.
Why is it taking you so long to
Got
do
a
your
bit
first...
bloody heavy here, isn't it? Fucking hell.
Just diverting it off that motorway, up the slip road, and onto a B road now. Why did it take you so long to do your first exhibition? You know, you've been taking photographs for 25 plus years.
Because I just didn't stop. Right. Whilst I was having, not just a good time, but I mean, I was having a good time, but whilst I was working and moving, and it came to like I say, it almost came to a natural end, even though it took some time. And that's not to say it's over, but the change into digital, you know, because then, you know, if you call it an industry or whatever, that changed everything. That doesn't stop me taking pictures. I take more pictures than ever now. You know, but again, with digital, you sort of question whether you are then taking pictures, you know, quite lazily, because you can. I mean, I took pictures on some of these, in some of these countries, and there's 5 days apart between 2 frames, and 30 rolls in 3 months. You know, you had to discipline yourself, and you didn't even know what you had, until you got back and processed it. But that discipline was fantastic. I was so pleased to look at, you know, even though I would have classed myself out and out amateur when I went there, in terms of the quality of the camera and the rest of it, and learning, I was amazed that, you know, the return rate on a roll of film, you know, how much was usable. And, you know, 10 rolls of film, say 360 shots. I swear I could walk between my house and Liverpool Street and take that with a digital camera every single day. And I'll never probably get round to looking at those pictures. And, you know, so, again, that's different times. I am really, really, I mean, I'm amazed to sort of find that so many young people are getting into film again. And they're happy about that, because obviously there's a different quality. But I'm not sort of, no, you know, I love digital too, and I love technology, so, you know, you use the tools that you've got. But, you know, there obviously is, it's just a different discipline.
Because you've been writing films, haven't you?
Yeah, I mean, based on, I mean, I'm writing, I guess, the exploits, but the kind of, I suppose, you know, life story as such. Quite anecdotal, quite funny, you know, as you can imagine. And, you know, it's the fact is that when, I guess, I left school at 16, and not kind of being pushed on any sort of academic thing, and coming from, you know, sort of a family where, you know, dad was a docker, like labourer, and, you know, no great aspirations, and bless them, you know, just working class people, you know, and just doing their best to sort of feed their kids, you know. But, like, to imagine that I would end up, you know, I'd never even been on a plane, and my mum wouldn't fly anyway, but we only ever got as far as France, and to end up going to, you know, over 120 countries is quite something. And I, you know, now, first of all, I was thinking, well, yeah, well, so what, everyone does it, but I guess everyone don't do it. And even if it's just as an example to say to the next generation, well, you know what, if you fancy trying something or doing something, you know, have a go, because you prove that it can, you know, and it all been plain sailing, but it was just kind of following the dream in a way. And it was never really sort of premeditated, but my nan always said to me, whatever you want to do, boy, go and do it. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't do something, you know. And that was a, you know, matriarch, you know, in Poplar.
Yeah, yeah.
And, you know, and a lovely woman. But she was a encouragement where maybe parents sort of didn't really get it. But yeah, so kind of writing about that as well. And I think, you know, those things should be, you know, obviously what I've covered historically needs to be seen. But then drawing from that, I'd kind of started making films when digital came along. Just sort of music, promos and stuff. And so drawing on elements and different parts of my time, then writing scripts, yeah. With a view to making feature films. When I started on this archive, which would be enough probably for the rest of my life to just work on that. But I've got writing and I've got film. And, you know, I've got a primal screen film sitting there, in as much that I've, you know, made a book about them. I've got film sitting there, but just haven't got time to get onto it right now. But that's like Screamadelica of 20 years, you know. I didn't expect, I guess, that I would be kind of doing new work. Even though this is kind of my work coming to the fore, so in a sense it's new to anyone else. But, you know, yeah, I'm being asked to do a lot of stuff, and it's great, you know. I wouldn't say that, you know, there's any money there being offered, but great, the work's exciting enough to do. And we just live in different times now, you know, and I think you kind of accept that maybe there's an experience to be had, then that's worth something. But like I keep saying, it's changed completely. And I spoke to some students on a journalism course last week. And, you know, it did cross my mind. It's like the world that maybe they're going into, where we have publishers at the moment that are not paying people, basically. And so they're only employing, like, their mates who can afford, you know, sit on their trust funds and kind of play at being a photographer or play at being a journalist. And, you know, kind of posh rich kids playing at this thing, right? Yeah. And you don't really, you think, God, these kids, you know, studying, and they're probably going to leave with debt and then go into a world where the exploitation is there for all to see. And, you know, and I'm kind of getting annoyed, really, that increasingly it's just a world of kind of advertising-driven journalism, which then means they're almost calling the shots. So where are you going to see great photojournalism? You know, what platform is that going to be allowed? So, you know, that worries me, and I think that's a bit of a mission, really, to bring down those kind of people, you know, that are exploiting. Yeah, it's exactly, really, what is it but the exploitation of, like, you know, working classes yet again. I mean, same old, really.